It's wonderful to be in a room with such great people who dedicate their lives to social change, and so I do feel like it is a reunion, so it's great, thank you. I'm Johnny come lately to this whole issue. I didn't even move to Cincinnati until 1980. I worked in Washington, D.C. on Capitol Hill with a national coalition of all the peace and religious organizations, working on Vietnam first, and then the arms race and human rights issues, and was involved in some of the early efforts around Hannaford and Rocky Flats and others from the DC perspective. And I was in a little sort of subterranean group with Danny Sheehan and the Barragans and others. So every Thursday night we would meet in Baltimore in their basement and talk about, it's very heavy. So anyway, I moved here to work with Ohio Citizen Action. When it was clear that Reagan was coming to town, it was time for us activists to get out of DC, and because nothing was going to happen there that we felt was progressive. So I was offered an opportunity to work here. My wife and I, who's a whistleblower lawyer herself, moved here, and I worked with Harriet and Merrill Guzner, and then shortly thereafter Roxanne Qualls, with our little team of folks at Citizen Action, Ohio Citizen Action. And Bob, yep. Right buddy? Yep. Yeah. So we were the, yes, Prince is here, of course. Of course. Right. So we were the pocketbook people. We were not the organization that led, as so many of you all did, on the anti-nuclear piece, or you're going to nail my community piece, or the whistleblower piece necessarily. We were the folks who were focused on what the hell are they going to make you pay to finish this boondoggle, right? So we had a canvas operation, right? Went door to door, sometimes 8 people, sometimes in the summer we'd get 30 people knocking on doors every night. And getting people to join in the campaign to fight a rate hike here, a rate hike there. Keep in mind that between 79 and 84, the CG&E rates that were approved by the PUCO went up 76%. Okay, and the rate of inflation in 1980 was 13%. Think about that. Presidents talk about the highest rate of inflation. Anyway, whatever. It was just back in 1980. And the plant was projected to cost $1.7 billion, and then it kept going up and up and up, and I guess it was $3.7 billion by the time it was done, but that's in 1984 dollars, which is about 15 billion today, which is like, 5 Brent Spence bridges today, right? Think about the size of this thing. It was outrageous. And that Brent Spence Bridge project, by the way, is the largest infrastructure project funded by the infrastructure bill that Biden passed in the entire country. The biggest single project is the Brent Spence Bridge. So it just puts what the size and impact of Zimmer was in some kind of perspective. And of course, when they eventually decided to convert, I guess it was in May of '74 when they announced, or August, that and Ben would remember because he wrote the stories every day about it. But they projected that it would be the most expensive coal plant in the world. They could only use 400 million, or justify the use of 400 million of the 1.7 million project, and 1.3 ended up being nuclear only, and they therefore couldn't ever apply to the PUCO to get reimbursed for that portion of the plant once they made the conversion decision. So that's pretty cool. But the bottom line is that it was almost like every 9 to 12 months there'd be another rate hike request. And they initially were not calling for that money to be spent for Zimmer, but by '82, they tried to get Zimmer in the rate base using construction work in progress, which is, if you had the plans more than 75%, I believe, completed at the time, the state law allowed you to, the PUCO, to authorize rate hikes to cover the work to build the plant that's not yet finished, right? From which we're not actually generating any electricity. So anyway, that's what we did. We had door to door. We had pull people out of hearings, work collaboratively with the broad cross section. I got Reverend Shuttlesworth involved. We recruited Marion Spencer. I ended up running her campaign in 1983 because, hey, we needed another advocate on city council to stand up and be a fighter for this. My own little whistleblower experience. I get this call one day from this guy, Ron Yates, who I eventually found out was Ron Yates, but he said, I work as a welder at Zimmer, and I can't sit on what I've seen without talking to somebody. So can we meet? We agreed to meet in the Frisch's in Fairfax. And, it was hard to get him out of the car. He didn't want to go in, but we finally got him to go in. We found a corner little place to sit. where nobody could really see us. And he just spent 2 hours telling me about what his experiences were at Zimmer. And I had never met a whistleblower like you guys have, many, many times. So I was able to get him connected with you all, and Ron ended up testifying. And I forget exactly where it was that he testified, but again, he was a welder with his amazing experience. But I gotta give also a shout out to Dave, and that was so kind of you. I don't think I was there, but David, you being the head of EAC, with the hearings that you held in, what, 82? Was that when it started? But you created this moment in history where everybody had to come, including the New York Times and national TV coverage, to come to Cincinnati and orchestrated the presentation of the truth about what was going on at the plant. And the pressure that created on the company must have been amazing. But I'll never forget how many lights and cameras. I've never seen as many lights and cameras in city council chambers with you presiding and orchestrating. Basically, you were like the prosecutor, but figured out who had to say what in order for the case to be presented. And you were so instrumental in making this thing happen. So hats off to you, Dave. Yeah, absolutely. But I guess, when people are so affected by pocketbook issues, it helps to bring additional people to the table. That is, when people are being asked to pay a whole lot more for something that they don't see the direct benefit to them in their household, people get mad and they come out in force. And as you all saw so many times, there were so many people who come out to those hearings. Ultimately, we cut a deal, Ohio Citizen Action did, it was OPIC at the time, with Dick Celeste's campaign in 1982 in the spring when Jerry was running for the Democratic nomination for governor, but I was one of 10 people in Cincinnati working with Dick Celeste. But we cut a deal with him. We said, listen, here's the deal. When it comes to a state right to know law, which he committed to, and committed to getting rid of construction work in progress, especially for Zimmer, but also for some other plants in the state, Davis Bessie. But regardless, once he got elected, and I ran his field operation in Southwest Ohio in '82, but he hired our Deputy Chief of Staff for Ohio Citizen Action to be the policy director for his office. So Paul Ryder became the person who was the key guy working with him. And so when he developed took office in January of '83, he appointed at least some new people to the PUCO. And they stopped the construction work in progress costs from, they prevented additional ones from being requested and approved, which was, substantial. And then I just found out this about 5 weeks ago, talking to Perry Savity, who is a friend of mine, and she became the policy director after my friend Paul. And this is in end of '84, or middle of '84, and the governor had to sign off on the conversion to coal, and the deal was that it had to be Ohio coal, for better or worse, right? But that was the one thing he insisted on in order for the state to sign off on the conversion deal. So I didn't tell you that, but that's kind of new for history. Okay. So anyway, for me, it was a great experience. I spent the rest of my political life here in Cincinnati running campaigns and doing organizing work and working for a couple different governors and Green Umbrella, and now I'm the river guy.
Cleaning up the river.
The river guy, so I'm the board chair for the Ohio Riverway, and I happen to have, of course, some propaganda here. So anyway, on the way out, make sure you get a copy of our Visitor's Guide to the Ohio River, okay? And then finally, I have for people copies, which I'll pass out in a minute, of a poem that Andy Dennison wrote about why I'm a Democrat. And I've had it in my files for 30-some years. And knowing that you were going to be here, I bought copies for folks, but it's an extremely powerful statement from his gut. So it carries on the tradition in so many ways of what we were all involved in. So anyway, bottom line is good organizing, the truth, passion, and you're right, people sticking together around a common cause, and making sure that it's as broad and inclusive as we can possibly make it.
Amen.
That's the keys to success in my experience. So, anyway, thank you all very much. Great to be with you.